Hey everybody, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. Happy to be back with you again. This is Dave from St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Really excited to see all of the listens around the world. Thank you everyone for checking in. Going to talk about co-hosting versus guest interviews. Thinking about trying something. Wanted to share it with you. Here we go. So, co-hosting versus guest interviews. I have 6 podcasts going at the moment, each one with weekly episodes. Enjoying podcasting so much. Some people are wondering, how the heck am I doing 6 podcasts a week? It's a lot of work, but I love it, and I'm learning a lot, and I get to meet a lot of great people in my interview podcasts, which would be Living the Next Chapter. We have some on Upcycle Canada podcast, Living My Side Hustle podcast. We've been over on Add to My Playlist podcast, Dad Space, and even here. There's so many places that we get to do interviews. But one thing I was thinking about doing here on the How to Podcast series, I wanted to throw it out to you, see if I could get a bite. I like fishing, so here we go. I'm going to bait the hook and see what I can catch. I'm looking for a co-host. Now, I'm not looking for a permanent co-host, and you're like, I can't commit to that. But I'm looking for people to come on to the How to Podcast series, share your podcast journey, what you're up to, where you're at in your journey. Are you just starting? Have you launched your podcast? Are you, successful? Are you struggling? Tell me what your podcast is about. Let's, instead of me interviewing you, let's have a conversation together. Podcaster, together, you and I, and we'll kind of share this time together and talk about our podcasts. It's a great way for you to promote what you're working on, reach my audience with your podcast, and vice versa. I get to also share with your audience, and we can work together. I think that's one of the things that I love about the podcasting community is the sense that we can work together. We can lift each other up. We can offer support, encouragement, and all the great things that come along with being part of a podcasting community. And that's what I'm hoping to build. That's what I'm looking and striving to do, is continue to build this group together. And that's why I went with the title of How to Podcast series. Really simple, straight to the point, easy to find, easy to search up. And I know there's a ton of amazing how-to podcasts out there, but there's only one How to Podcast series. How do I know? Because I have it, and you're here with me, and it makes me feel so great that you have time to drop by and listen to this, and hopefully take away a few things from the podcast. So here's what I'm asking for. If you have a podcast, and you're out there in podcast land somewhere, and you would like to co-host with me, reach out to me through the website. Reach out with the links that are included in the podcast in the show notes. Send me a voice message. There's a little microphone you can click on, and I would love to chat about having you on as a co-host, whether that's one time only, or you want to return on a more regular basis. But I would love to share this time with a co-host and build that relationship together. I obviously don't know everything about podcasting, and there's people that have been doing this for a lot longer than I have. But when you do 6 podcasts a week and you talk to some really great people, you pick up a few things here and there. And hopefully some of the things that I pick up doing 6 episodes a week for 6 different podcasts, I can share some of those learnings with you, and maybe together with a co-host, and bounce ideas back and forth. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I can help you with something. And in our conversation, our listeners will then benefit from our combined wisdom. So there's this whole mastermind thing. I'm sure you've heard of a mastermind. It's like such a catchphrase right now. Everyone's talking mastermind. But the concept I love about mastermind that I hear people say is when 2 people get together, combining their knowledge, their expertise, their education, their contacts, their lived life experience, everything. And you take two people and combine them together in a conversation, in a group, in a community, in a podcast setting, as co-hosts together. Now we have more wisdom, more knowledge, more education, more expertise, more life experience to draw from, instead of it just coming from one person. So I'm hoping to grow by talking with you and having you on the podcast. And that's really what I'm hoping for, is that we can kind of build this relationship and share together our podcast journey. So if that sounds interesting to you, then let's have a conversation. I love having interviews. Don't get me wrong. They're great. I love sharing and putting a spotlight on my guest as an interview. And we do a lot of them. With 6 podcasts a week, we do a lot of interviews. I'm looking for something a little bit different. I don't hear a lot of people asking for co-hosts on a regular basis. So I'm asking. Let's see who's out there. I'm putting the word out, and hopefully there's someone out there that's like, yeah, I like the idea of a co-host. I like sharing the podcast together. And if I can come on your podcast, that's great. But I'm looking for people to come on here and have a conversation around podcasting. What do you want to talk about? Let's chat together and record it and send it out into the world and help many podcasters. If that's you, I'm here. I'm waiting for you. Reach out. Let's do this together. I would really like to work with you. So until we get to talk in the future, thanks for being part of the How to Podcast series. And we'll talk soon. Thanks.
Hey blokes, it's time to pay attention. It's time to pay attention to who we are as men and how we can show up better every single day. My name is Simon Rinney, and I'm inviting you to subscribe to the Mindful Men podcast. Each episode helps us to become more mindful of what's happening in our lives, from our health and well-being to work, relationships, parenting, and everything in between. You'll hopefully leave each episode inspired and thinking and feeling in new directions. The Mindful Men podcast is available on your favourite podcast platforms and YouTube. So what are you waiting for? Together, let's get mindful.